Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's 2:01 on the dot. Um, we are waiting for other mentees to join us, and we are also waiting for our mentors for today to join us. My name is Hussein Mahadi, and I'll be our moderator for today's session. Today is the week 2 of the FinTech Mentorship and Internship Program, JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program. And our topic for today is commercial development of fintechs, open banking, embedded finance, and the world of payments. And today we'll be having 3 mentors with us. Our first mentor is Ms. Esther Eme. Our second profound mentor is George Onyewuchi. And lastly, our last mentor for today is Mr. Joseph Obo. We are all encouraged to put on our videos. We are live streaming our session on YouTube. All our mentees are encouraged to put on your videos. Please kindly do so. Quickly, I'll be telling us what JIIPCC is all about, making announcements, and going on to our mentors talk and presentation on the topic for today. So about the program, I hope you can see my screen. JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program for FinTech is a quarterly program for students and young professionals across Africa. Mentees are afforded the opportunity to access valuable advice, training, network, mentorship, internship, discussion forums, industry updates, and resource materials from experienced mentors. The program seeks to encourage continuous training, development, and evolution in Africa and around the world. Some of the objectives of JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program is that it provides easy access, guidance for training, and resource materials from students and young professionals. It facilitates dialogue, network among experienced and less experienced practitioners and stakeholders. And our objective is also to transform mentees into mentors and leaders for the next generation. And finally, to facilitate further mentorship, internship, scholarship, just placement for the mentees. That's what we are all about. And quickly, I'll be making some announcements. Our first announcement for today is that JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program is also having other areas, other courses online, which is intellectual property, artificial intelligence and technology, the energy industry, the FinTech, health tech and law, the patent drafting, and blockchain, NFTs, and metaverse. Registration is currently closed for this session, so anybody registering is for next quarter of the year. So you can share the link with your friends and colleagues that are interested in any of the areas. Secondly, every mentee is entitled to a 30-minute one-on-one session with your favorite mentor on JIIPCC program. If you feel like you want to have a personal conversation with any of our mentors, you can register through the link bit.ly/JIIPCCPM or just send a message across and you'll be given the link. Finally, okay, that will be that for the announcements. And like I said earlier, we have 3 mentors for today. So I'll be calling on our first mentor, Mr. Joseph Obo. Joseph Obo is a leading expansion project for foreign partnership for Nigerian company, an online company registration platform, which presently has delivered over 1,500 incorporations for clients, both in Nigeria and abroad. He is presently the Group Board Secretary of Bethsaida African Development PLC, an investment and financial service company based in Nigeria. He is a mentor and moderator for the FinTech JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program. Joseph has an LLM in Information Technology and Telecommunication Law from Slackside University, Glasgow, Scotland, and has attended several courses across Europe, Asia, and Africa. He also consults for company and boardroom matters. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Joseph Obo. Our second mentor for today is Mrs. Esther Eme. Esther Eme is a finance professional holding 2 master degrees in finance and investment with specialization in mergers, acquisition, and private equity for prestigious institution, Geneva Business School and London School of Business and Finance. Her work's experience span across several industries from real estate and construction to business development and education. She is enthusiastic about the future of finance, having undergone several training, boosts certification in sustainable finance from the United Nations Partnership for Action on Green Economy, investments in emerging markets and developing economies from the World Bank, and professional certification in financial technology from the University of Hong Kong. She is an avid speaker, writer, and advocate for development in inclusion through financial literacy, investment, and technology revolution. She is an alumni of the World Economic Forum, Global Shaper Community in Abuja, having served various roles from project lead to financial manager, manager and secretary. She is an active member of her church and community where she enjoys serving and singing. Thank you very much for joining us today, Ms. Esther Eme. And our last mentor for today is Mr. George Onyewuchi. George currently heads FinTech engagements for First Bank and its subsidiaries across Africa at a digital innovation lab, setting up and driving the bank's FinTech strategy. George is a link that connects technology, business, and ecosystem partnership. He is at the intersection of products, partnership, and ecosystem building. He has led the tech solution product development for the SME banking business for a leading commercial bank and has taken numerous financial and non-financial projects from idea to markets and growth. He has led digital transformation in the client's engagement process for leading commercial banks, including one of the Nigerian banking industry's first end-to-end account opening for corporate accounts and SME digital lending. His team has won numerous awards for powering growth of SME. He also provides advisory for Africa towards developing blockchain infrastructure and building an operating system for African business on the blockchain, and hosts knowledge session on blockchain application to various industries within the African context. Thank you very much for all you do and also joining us today, Mr. George Onyewuchi. Quickly, we'll be moving on to our mentors talk and presentation today. Okay. I'll be calling on Miss Esther. I don't know if she's on the call with us. Let me check. Miss Esther Eme, please, if you're on the call, the floor is yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Esther Eme. Thank you so much. Mahadi Issa Hussein. I hope I got your name.
Yes.
Correct. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, JIIPCC. So I'm currently struggling to share my slides with you. Okay.
You can see the slide.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. So before I get in, I had the opportunity to go through the slideshows that were created by the groups, and I want to say that it was so fantastic. I could barely have added anything to it. So I just wanted to encourage you and say, well done. Okay, wait, let me momentarily stop the share so that we can have a conversation. I want to say well done to everyone. I feel like mentorship is such an amazing experience because as a mentor, you get to learn from your mentees and you get a unique opportunity to also share a thing or two. And one thing I noticed from the group presentations that were shared with me was everyone is somewhat conversant with what financial technology is, right? Everyone has an idea. It's something that it's a race, right? It's a way anyone can come up to you, whether it be a legitimate claim or a scammer to tell you something about financial technology. So there's a lot of ambiguity that relates to it, and there's a lot of excitement also that relates to it. Also, I want you to pardon me. I'm having a bit of network issues, so in case I log in and log out, just exercise a bit of patience. So, from the slides that I was shared, I noticed that it's not necessarily new information that is needed here, but more of the spirit of mentorship. So I'm just going to kick in. So this is what I believe we all have an idea of. FinTech is an acronym for financial technology, and it's from the two words technology and finance. And there's a reason why it's so important to bring it back to the simple things when you're dealing with a lot, when the industry is constantly evolving, when there are constant changes. To really understand the industry, you would need to come down to the simple things, right? So we're going to touch on what finance is and what technology is. Technology is something that we're all conversant with. We can't do our daily lives without some form of technology, and the dictionary defines it as the technical application of scientific knowledge to influence, manipulate, and improve the human condition as pertains to an industry. So we're very much in a time where everyone claims to be a tech specialist, right? There are some people that just say they are tech specialists, but what does that mean? Because it's like saying you are a life specialist? What do you mean? Are you a relationship specialist? Are you a business specialist? Tech is so vast. And that's why we have things like FinTech, we have health tech, we have agri-tech, right? So technology is quite vast. So when you're trying to understand technology, it has to pertain specifically to an industry. And today we're talking about FinTech. And so we're going to define what finance is. And finance refers to money management for, and please take note of these words, value maximization and wealth creation. Those are the two most important things in finance. Again, the reason why it's so important to redefine these things is, okay, so when I did my first degree, which was in accounting, I remember that every single aunt or uncle that I told that I was reading accounting, they would say, I see you like money. And that was a funny statement to make, because as an accountant, specifically, you shouldn't like money because that will go against the profession, right? And accountants don't really see a lot of money. Accountants do paperwork. So I'm just saying this to say that most times when we think of fintech, we think of the big things, the payment platforms, we think of the crypto platforms, we think of the unicorn brands, right? But fintech really addresses the basic needs of finance using technology. And what that means is that if you're working in a finance department, if you're working in a financial institution, there is an opportunity for technology to transform that space. But if you're thinking too high and you're thinking too lofty, you miss out on very important moments. You miss out on the places where you are able to really step in and be a transformational thought leader, right? Can you hear me, just to confirm before I go ahead? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, ma. Loud and clear.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So we're going to now jump into the ABCs and Ds of fintech. This just brings fintech to its simplest form, right? These are the building technical blocks for the framework that consists financial technology. We have artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, we're not just randomly calling out different technologies. The reason why we are sharing with you this is to provoke you to think of how you can transform the way you work. It's to provoke you to think of how you can transform the way you do business. It's to provoke you to think about how you can transform the way you live, right? So artificial intelligence refers to the use of computers to simulate, replicate, automate, and repetitive processes in order to achieve higher accuracy and efficiency. And this is used a lot in finance departments for accounting functions. There are a lot of companies that are thinking of replacing their account data entry units with artificial intelligence applications. So, and these are things that have not really had a chance to enter into the way work is done, especially in Nigeria. So I'm saying these things, opening the door of opportunity for you to see what is it you can do, because we can talk about the commercial development of financial technology and talk about what happened in the 60s and in the 80s and in the 18th century and in the 19th century, but how does this, how does this affect you, right? What is the opportunity for you? You're no longer going to be the person who is going to innovate and make an ATM. An ATM is no longer an innovation. An ATM is needing renovation. If anything, there's need for re-innovation. So we see from artificial technology that there's a space in accounting units and finance units in departments to transform the way they do work. Now we have blockchain technology, which I know there's no one here who finds that novel, although I know that there are several misconceptions as to what blockchain technology is. Blockchain technology is not tied to the idea of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency nodes of the digital ledger, right? but it itself is an immutable distributed digital ledger, which is used to record transactions, to track transactions. And it has several applications that have nothing to do with cryptocurrency, although I will say that cryptocurrency, there are a lot of applications and uses for it, especially in a time when we are facing a lot of inconvenience as regards currency. And I know you know what I mean, speaking of inflation and even the present scarcity of money and all of that we're having right now, especially in Nigeria. Then the third thing is cloud computing. This is the C of fintech. And I will encourage you to take note of every one of these technical blocks, because just knowing these four will open your mind up to different possibilities, open your mind to different applications that are at your fingertips already, because we live in a world that's connected. So we have cloud computing. Cloud computing transforms the way we store and process data. We know that capital markets receive loads and loads and loads and tons of data, right? When we're thinking of financial technology, we scarcely think of cloud computing and how that transforms the way data is processed in financial institutions such as the SEC. You also have government and private administrations that are required to process a lot of financial. It helps to make sure that it's scalable, it's accessible from anywhere in the world, it is secure, right? No one can break it. It's secure from fire outbreak, it's secure from flooding, it's secure from robbers, because that goes again into cyber security and all of that. So that is a component of fintech. And finally, we have data. Where would we be in this world right now without data? And data refers, there's a saying, I once did a program with Google, and they said data is life. And I find that to be such a brilliant statement, right? In this time, data is like life. Like you can't do anything without data. You can't make wise decisions without data. You can't make informed decisions without data. I earlier stated that I specialize in mergers and acquisitions. It is impossible to carry out an effective merger or an effective acquisition without data. Data helps you to be able to predict the future. Data helps you to be able to model the past. Data is so effective and efficient in all its uses. Now let's move on to the next slide. It says, this topic is a mouthful and the history is rich. And how does this apply to me? How can I make history? Because one thing I was concerned about when I was preparing for this was I was conscious of what is the take home from this presentation, right? We don't just do things for the sake of doing it. Mentorship is different from a lecture. Mentorship is not about acquiring new information. It's about giving direction on how to make better application for personal and professional development. So my slides are not going to focus as much on the history of what has been or what is right now, but it's going to focus more on where do you come in, right? So that's what we see in the next slide. It says, who am I and where do I plug in? Now, there's a lot of talk of disruption, and there are a lot of meanings that have been attached to it. But when you see the origin of the word in the right context, you see that it was created by the economist Clayton Christensen, and I believe this was in the 90s. He wrote a very brilliant paper, and his description of disruptive innovation was the use of simple applications to move upward in the market and displace established competitors. Why am I saying this? I want you to be a disruptor in your field, in your industry. But what that means is that you don't have to do the most. You don't have to have the best ideas. You just have to know how to make effective applications that will move you gradually to displace the people that are already there. And I see I'm running quickly out of time, but I have only 3 or so more slides. So the next thing we're going to discuss is understanding the climate. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. When I went through your presentations, I noticed that you have an idea, and so I'm not going to stress it too much. You have an idea of the different industrial revolutions that have existed. But we're in the fourth one. And industrial revolutions are characterized by the use of new materials, the use of new energy sources, a change in the way work is done, innovation in transportation and communication, and just generally better application of scientific knowledge. So the fourth industrial revolution particularly, it speaks of a combination of cyber and physical components to transform the way humans live. And maybe I'll share this slide with the moderator so that he can pass it across and you can go into it in greater depth so that we don't spend too much time on it. I would love to hear your own presentations. So I'll move on to the next slide, but I will encourage you to go through it. The next slide says, identify the needs and gaps in financial services across the globe, in your nation, in your industry, in your department, in your village, in your circle of friends, in your family, and in your personal life. Necessity is the mother of innovation. Don't wait to do the most notable thing. Get noticed and elevated for doing the most necessary thing. And a good example of this is M-Pesa. I don't know how many of you have heard of M-Pesa, but M-Pesa was an innovation that started a FinTech innovation that started in Kenya. And that was somewhat the mother of what we see now as star 966, star 737, and all the likes of it. The person noticed that, okay, everyone has some form of a phone, even if it's not a smartphone. So how can we use this to bring financial services to the people in the villages, right? So people in your village, there are an opportunity for you to grow. Everybody, my village people, this, my village people that know. Those people, there's an opportunity there that you're not really tapping into because you're not. Another example we have is piggy vest, right? There's a need for savings amongst friends. There's a need for savings personally. How do I provide something that, intervenes in that? We see another example, and I'm also jumping into the next slide with Remy.
I think our network is fluctuating, so we'll just wait until she comes back. But before then, I will call on Mr. George. I don't think Mr. George is with us here, so okay, Mr. George is here. Mr. George, please, you can go on with your talk.
I'm so sorry about that.
Okay, she's back.
Try. Yes, so sorry about that. Yes. So I was speaking on Remita. I said Remita was an intervention program to see how public finance can be better administered, right? So there are so many opportunities for financial technology solutions. And all of these are to help you to, so even your research, the research you conducted is not to make you to be more knowledgeable so that you can destroy someone else in an argument. Oh, did you know what happened in cryptocurrency? So and so. Did you know that 2 billion? Did you know that 5 billion? All those things are worthless if you are not making a change that is, is worth the talk, right? We can, as Nigerians, we love to talk the talk, but we need people to step in and walk the walk off, right? So finally, and this is the last slide, it speaks on taking action. And this is my encouragement to you on how you can take action on everything that we have discussed, everything that you have researched. And it's to identify your skill set. Are you a technical or non-technical expert? Are you an investor? For example, there's a program I'm doing on blockchain technology that helps me to to work as a non-technical expert, right? I don't know how to do the programming work, but I can administer some kind of, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
So, but I can administer my financial skills. So let me rush and close up. Then you have envision, network, and collaborate, where you're not able to do, what is necessary for that solution. Collaborate, network, then launch, learn, and update. So you keep learning on the process as you keep moving, you keep learning. So I hope that this inspires you, and I wish you the best of luck. And every step you take is a step that will determine the way history is written. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Ms.
Esther Eme. Thank you very much for your presentation, and the slides that you also shared. They're very insightful and educative. We will still be coming back to you with our mentees' questions, and also to comment on our mentees' presentation after the. I know you've already commented on that earlier, so I'll be calling on our second mentor for today, Mr. George Onyewuchi. If he's on the call with us, he can also give us his own. Mr. George, can you hear me? Okay. I think Mr. George is having network issues, so I don't know if Mr. Joe has any contributions to also make on the topic before we hear our mentee's presentation for today.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Personally, for today, I don't have a slide presentation, and going by what the first mentor, Esther Eme, actually highlighted, for me, the practicality in the sense of what is the impact of the knowledge that the program is actually giving. I think that's a huge area of focus that is actually required. It's necessarily not enough to go back into the 16th century or the 18th century or the 20th century to find out all of those things, because this is research that I feel we all can actually do at our own spare time. But I feel what is more valuable basically would have to do with the application. I'm very sure that not everyone here is a technical person. I'm also not a technical person. I don't code. But in terms of the policies around the laws, the policies around some of these areas, there are things that I definitely would be able to throw a whole lot of light on in that regard. So why this is actually necessary is so that you necessarily don't have to beat up yourself. You don't have to be a top tier code tech expert, because fintech basically is not all about the tech. It's also not all about the finance. There are a whole lot of plug-in areas, plug-in skills that are necessarily not core fintech related skills. So that's where you find a lot of other skill sets. You find the lawyers in that area. You even now find mental health people within fintech. You find several other related disciplines within fintech. Sometime last week, no, not last week, this week to be precise, there's actually a fintech company that I know in Abuja here. I do some consulting for them, and one of their strategy leads is a personal friend of mine, and they had an issue. They had an issue because they're actually a fintech company. They should be able to use the entire technology thing to be able to profile. They are a micro lending company in Abuja. They should be able to use technology based on what is out there about them. But I realized that to a very large extent, their systems is still much manual. Because somebody wants to lend money on your platform, the person hits you up through your website or through your app. The idea basically is that everything from that point on is technology that is assisting to make all those decisions. But you still find that a lot of things are still very much, manual on that end. For us, so to say, you want to verify the identity of the individuals. Let's say you require certain forms of collateral. You want further information about who their guarantors are. All that information is still very much manual. I'm actually saying this because several companies are in different stages of their own growth process. So like Esther said, she talked about the fact that ATM machines are no longer things that people should be like, this is a great invention. It's been around for a while. And we need certain form of reinvention, to what we are practically seeing presently. The disruptions that artificial intelligence also is bringing into the space is also something to take note of. So it doesn't necessarily matter your discipline. You just have to find out what exactly do I need to, what's the area, what development am I trying to, have I noticed within FinTech? What can I do with the skills that I have? Do I need to start my own company? Can I join up with persons who are actually doing what they are doing within the space? Do I need to find myself in a team? So you need to think around the entire process. You also need to think around, like if you look at what I actually thought I was going to do today beyond this pep talk I'm giving, was to talk about some areas within the FinTech development, talking about security, FinTech security, talking about big data, also talking about lending. The illustration I was giving is on the lending side. So you have to find out what exactly you would be interested in changing within the space, because the space is actually such that the changes are happening, so fast, so quickly. Most times we can't necessarily keep up because you're not sure of what's going to be in the market the next day. Just like the whole ChatGPT innovations and all that. I actually use ChatGPT a whole lot. So to speak, I've made money using ChatGPT in the past 2 weeks. It's been quite interesting. I didn't know it was real until I started trying out some things. Hussein Mahadi is actually aware of one of the things that I did. I think during this week, through ChatGPT. So there are a lot of these tools that are already out there. Nobody necessarily knows what's really coming up tomorrow. So that's where we all find ourselves as mentees. So in thinking of the FinTech developments, I feel that one of the best ways around it is to think of how you can actually play within that space with the skills that you presently have. The last FinTech session we had, that's in Q4 last year. Mr. George made a lot of comments. In fact, I just want to say this here. Much of the thinking around FinTech that I'm doing presently is as a result of Mr. George's contributions, within the FinTech program. And I'm actually thinking, what can I do differently with the knowledge that I actually have? Are there new things I can add to what I'm currently doing? How can I create a niche area? Because what I'm doing currently, a lot of lawyers do it, but how can I go around, creating a niche area? And I hope to share some of my contributions much later with one of our mentors, Mr. George, who is here presently. So the goal basically for you need to begin to think of what you can do, what can you do to also change the narrative within the FinTech space. It's beyond what is already out there. New things are springing up every day. And if you're on the path to creating something new, you can actually start from where you are. Just start doing something. Look for people that share a common passion with you and who also have the requisite skills and understanding. Also, it's not a bad idea to find a mentor or to find advisors, to find people that can actually guide you, to put you on the right path. So the whole P2P, crowdfunding, money lending, micro lending, KYCs, all of those things within the scope or the variations that we actually find interventions within the FinTech space. There are things that a 5 to 10 minutes talk will not be enough to necessarily share. But I just felt I should talk about, what's really happening and how you can actually participate as a mentee, necessarily not thinking of yourself as a finance expert or thinking of yourself as a technology expert, whatsoever skill that you have. I was reading something yesterday about mental health in FinTech, people are already thinking of that. People are already making money from that. They're already providing services within that range. So there is fintech is just like a cobweb. Many things are attached to that cobweb. But if all you are seeing is just fintech, you may lose out on the value that you can actually bring to the ecosystem. So this is just for all our mentees to see how you can go beyond the slides, put yourself in the picture, and begin to ask yourself, what can you actually do differently? What value can you bring to the fintech space? I think I'll be stopping at this point to see in future when the questions come in, how we can respond in the Q&A sections. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph Ogo, for sharing your own view and also enlightening us more on the topic. I'll be calling on Mr. George Onyewuchi also to give us his own.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon. I hope I'm audible, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Joe, for the kind words, and nice to be here again with you. Great work you guys are all doing, and congratulations to the mentees for taking yet another step in equipping themselves towards this journey of legal and tech, the synergy between legal and tech. To the topic, I think, is commercialization or commercial development of fintech, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me take it from two angles. I'll quickly talk about the commercial for the enterprise, which is the fintech itself, and the commercial for the individual, right, which is you. Because at the end of the day, it's all about, my friend would say it's all about the gwegwe. It's all about the ego. I'm sure that if this thing is not going to be translating to money someday, some of us would better be in an Owambe party right now, than being in this session, right? So at the end of the day, we want to graduate this knowledge into something that can help us, make income or make revenue, right? So I speak to the enterprise, and of course I speak to the individuals. Now, for the enterprise, which is the fintech itself, how do we look at the commercial development of fintech? I think it was last time we were together here, I was talking about how a lot of people get caught up in the whole fanciness of the technology, and the whole beauty of the idea, and they forget about, the bottom line, right? The money, the ego. How do you make this idea sustainable? How can this solution be sustainable? Trust me, while we are all here in this free session today, listening to this mentorship program, I don't know if JIIPCC charges for it, for example, but if they don't charge for this program, there's somebody somewhere paying for this program to happen today. Whether it's Juliana herself, or she has some sponsors somewhere, but this whole exercise, there's somebody paying for it, whether through sweat equity, whether through resources, whether through subscription for Zoom and the likes, right? Because I know Zoom, for example, I think the free one is 45 minutes, and this program extends more than 45 minutes. So some monies are brought into this organizing this program. So the question you ask yourself as a fintech, or when you're thinking about idea, is how can I make this thing sustainable? Is it viable? Will somebody pay money to take this solution off me? When you come up with an idea and you ask your friend, what do you think about this thing? Everybody tells you, it's a good idea. It's nice. It's a nice idea. Go for it, right? You tell your friends, hey, I'm thinking about starting this tech company. This thing that probably when you go on, when you come to my platform and you just say something, everybody in the world hears you, sees what you're saying. What do you think about it? Someone said, it's so beautiful. It's so nice. Good idea. Now tell the person that, can you book in advance to use my platform? Can you pay me? I will be charging 1,000 naira per month. Can you pay for I'm giving out a 1-year trial for 1,000 naira. Can you book ahead? Then the conversation becomes a totally different one, right? Your closest of friends might just give you that money just so that you get off the back of them. Or meet one of the strangers or one of the people you just know casually that you pitch the idea to, and they say, nice idea. And you say, I'm taking early bird subscription for it. Can you pay 1,000 naira ahead for it? And then see how they react to that idea. So it's a different ball game when you're thinking about an idea or thinking about a fintech just for it. And then when you start charging, when you put that idea to test, to say, let this idea generate revenue for me. Who is going to pay for it? And the people that I've identified to pay for that idea, let me test if they will be willing to pay for that idea. And if they are willing to pay for that idea, then you start thinking, I might be up to something here. There's a test that we used to talk about for ideas to say, what kind of idea, what kind of problem are you solving? Is it an urgent problem, where people must get solution now? It is biting them. Like if you're sick, right? You need a drug, like you need it like right now. So if they tell you that you're having this killer headache that want to kill you, and someone tells you paracetamol is 5,000 naira, and there's no other way for you to get paracetamol, you're going to pay 5,000 naira to get paracetamol because it is very urgent. You need that cure immediately. So what kind of problem are you thinking about to use technology to solve? Is it an urgent problem? Is it an important problem? Not urgent, but is reoccurring. It's not an urgent problem, but it's a problem that would always be there, right? Food, we want to eat food, I'm hungry. I could probably stay another 5 hours without eating that food. I wouldn't die. I mean, I would live with it. But at some point, I must eat, right? And if I eat today, I must eat tomorrow. And if I eat tomorrow, I must eat next tomorrow. So the problem for me of solving my problem with hunger is not exactly as urgent, when that hunger comes, but it's a recurring problem because I must always eat, today, tomorrow, and next tomorrow. So the problem you want to solve with that fintech, is it a recurring problem, even if it's not urgent, and those are some of the ways that you start thinking about how you might be able to sustain, your company when you put out a company. So it starts with that idea. Is that idea viable? Will someone pay me to do this thing? Or is it one of those nice to have ideas that as long as it is free, maybe they will use it. The day I put money on it, everybody runs away, right? And if everybody's going to run away, how am I going to make money, right? Am I going to be charging? Am I going to advertising on the platform? Maybe I won't charge the users, but I will charge advertisers to come on the platform to pay. So how would I really make money? So the viability of that idea is very important to fintech development. There you start hearing something called proof of concept, right? Proof of concept, is where you want to now prove that this thing I'm thinking of, as beautiful as it is on paper, somebody is actually going to solve the problem it's claiming it will solve. And because it will solve the problem it's claiming it will solve, somebody will pay for it, right? You want to use your proof of concept to test your hypothesis, right? So you see how the concept that you learn in school plays out in the business world in growing fintech. Yeah, so you put out a hypothesis somewhere to say, and our hypothesis is just assumption, right? It's just assumption to say, okay, people are having problems with cash right now in the country. People are having problems with going into Danfo buses because they don't have cash. Can I bring out a solution that they can help Danfo buses collect money from people without taking cash, and they don't have POSs? So do I have this amazing app, that once the Danfo driver has that app, he's going to take money from you without any, without any stress, and you don't need to give him cash. So you assume that, there's a problem with getting cash, and the Danfo guy is looking for a way to get money without having to get cash, and it doesn't have access to POS. That's an assumption. That's what we call a hypothesis. Now you create a solution to say, this is what my app will be able to do, or this is how I can use technology to solve this thing. But I want to prove that it works. So I want to do a proof of concept, right? And if I do that proof of concept successfully, I should be able to have a product I can take to market, right? So you do a very light version of that product, not build it as crazy. Do the simplest version of that product that can just show that it works, no matter how ugly the website or the app is, but it just does one important thing. It takes payment from somebody and gives it to the Danfo driver. No matter how ugly the app is, no matter how, maybe not as all the optimal ways that app can be. So you do that proof of concept and you go try it out with maybe like say 5 Danfo buses. And then when it happens that some of them will complain that this thing they take time load before one person pay me like 5 minutes don't go. No, it's too slow. No, they work. And now I'll come and say, no, I have to always have internet. I don't have data. How can I? Are you going to be giving me data when you give me this your solution? Again, so when you test that your solution with the market, you get feedback. You get so that whole process you're doing, is called proof of concept to show that it works. And it is one of the first stages for you to say, I have a working solution, right? And if it works perfectly, maybe you are charging transaction fee. Maybe you're helping the Danfo driver collect 100 naira, you're charging 10 kobo for every 100 naira. That is where your money is coming from. So it takes care of that viability of that idea, but then you have proven that it works. Now you need to get what we call traction, right? Traction is basically, say, adoption, right? People are using it on a day-to-day basis. The demand for that solution is an upward trajectory, is increasing. So you don't want to have a solution where somebody buys your market today, maybe it takes another 3 days or 4 days before another person buy the market. Then it takes another 2 weeks before another person buy your market or use your app. If you go that route, you struggle. So those are things that must come together to make sure that when you're thinking about a fintech, you can never think about it without thinking about the commercial part of it. How do I think about this idea in a way that somebody is paying somewhere for this, solution? How do I go and test it out? In what scenario can I test it out safely to see that this solution works? And then how am I going to take it to the market to gain traction? Now, quickly, the second part is the one for the individual. How do you yourself, as an entity, what is your own commercial development? How are you developing commercially in what you're in this journey, right? There are different things we've talked about, how as a legal person, how you can also come into the fintech space, right? So if you've picked any one of them from what we've discussed so far, what is your process of getting to the point where somebody is paying for that thing, right? You want to do it as a consultant, you want to do it as a staff of an organization, you want to be a very good hot person in this space, and then you want one of the top chambers or one of the top fintechs to employ you. What is your end goal? Do you want to be, a very hot top of the professional, in that space? Do you want to be a consultant that will run your own team? So you need to think of your own commercialization, your own commercial development with what you are learning. What is the end goal, and how am I going to translate this into revenue, into salaries, into income, into commission? Whatever it is that you have decided, you must have a very deliberate plan of what you want to do and how you're going to translate it. At what point would you get to for people to start paying you for your knowledge? At what point will you get to for you to start charging, for your services? Do I want to have help like 2 or 3 companies do, help them in registering outside the country? Do I want to help 1 or 2 companies do this so that they can be testimonials for me? And then at the 4th company, I'll start charging. Do I have a plan? Do I want to do this? And then probably I'll do an internship with a fintech. And after like 3 months, I'll apply for a full-time role. Your plan must be very deliberate on how you you want to go on your journey and how you're going to translate into Naira and Kobo, in your pocket. So just the way we have for the enterprise, it's also very important that you also have that commercial development of you and you Nigerian Limited, right? To develop yourself and earn money from your knowledge. Yeah, so I just stop here for now and we'll discuss more later.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you very much, Mr. George Uche, for that wonderful talk and enlightenment. So I think we've taken all the talks from our mentors, so we'll be moving on to our mentees presentation for now. Then afterwards, we'll come back for the questions for our mentors. So I'm calling on group one. Group one, I don't know if you guys are ready. The presenter for group one with your PowerPoint presentation, please. You can start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Ibukun Oludipo. So I'll be taking the presentation for group one. We'll be talking about the commercial development of FinTech. So I'm trying to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Not yet. No, we can't see it yet.
Okay, how about now?
No.
No, we still can't see it.
What about now?
Yes,
Hello?
we can.
Okay.
See your screen.
All right. So topic is commercial development of FinTech. And basically that simply means how we use technology to advance and improve financial services and how it has developed commercially. So the outline.
I can't hear her, please. Can you hear her?
No, I can't hear her also.
Okay, any backup presenter from group one?
Hello? 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 Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry, I had an issue with my internet.
We can.
Oh, yeah. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I had an issue with my internet, so I'm trying to use another device. So I have to share my screen again. Please let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, you are already sharing your screen. Just go to the file.
Okay, so on the outline, we have what is financial technology, the history of financial technology, evolution of FinTech in Nigeria, future of financial technology, and examples of commercial development of FinTech. So we'll be going to the history of financial technology, and we know the history of financial technology has been broken down by Anaris, Barbaris, and Ross into three eras. That's FinTech 1.0 between 1866 and 1967, FinTech 2.0, 1967 to 2008, and FinTech 3.0, 2008 to date. So FinTech 1.0, this era was categorized by the use of financial technology or technology generally such as telegraph and Morse code to create transatlantic cables and feed wires that enabled the first electronic fund transfer system. And then at that time, the ability to make financial transactions over a more considerable distance made this a huge development. Then FinTech 2.0, basically, the phase was marked by installation of the first ATM by Berkeley's in 1967. And then it was also characterized by the switch from analog to digitalization of finances. It was also the establishment of the NASDAQ, the world's first digital stock exchange. And then the era continued in the 1980s with the rise of bank mainframe computers and growth of outline banking. Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Okay, fine. Okay, so FinTech 3.0, that's from 2008 to date. This is... Hello?
Just keep
Hello,
going on. We can hear you.
Now, this third era is where we have a large youthful population, and there's definitely an increase in smartphone penetration and a focused regulatory drive to increase financial inclusions and cashless payments. This combination has created the perfect recipe for a thriving financial sector. This third era has become the era of startup, with an appetite for innovation among investors and driving a wave of new products and services. Currently, established banks are starting to act and rebrand themselves like startups, and this move away from the established banks of FinTech 2.0 era has been the defining elements of FinTech 3.0. So now, the evolution of FinTech, that's the evolution of financial technology. In 1993, the NIBSS was founded, and this made it possible for, the earliest evolution of FinTech in Nigeria started with regulatory frameworks that made companies like the NIBBS, that's Nigerian Interbank Settlement and Systems, and then this led to the NIP and the NAPS, and this have made it possible for financial transactions in both peer-to-peer and peer-to-business settings to exist. Then from that, we moved on to the Unified Payments Service Limited, which was founded in 1997 by the consortium of leading Nigerian banks. And it's one of the major switches powering the majority of PS terminals in Nigeria. Then we further moved to, in 2002, InterSwitch was founded. And then it was founded to solve the problem of lack of proper infrastructure to power digital payments, and particularly cards. Before InterSwitch, the debit card transactions were non-existent in Nigeria. After InterSwitch in 2003, we moved on to Extrazec. This is another core FinTech player, and it was is another core FinTech player that led to the Extranet is another core FinTech player, and from Extranet we moved on to Paystacks, Flutterwaves, and the likes, and they've all made payment solutions easily accessible to those who were previously ostracized. So basically, in all in all, while FinTech 1.0 made a lot of things possible, FinTech 2.0 improved on the things made and made it more accessible to us. So moving on to the future of financial technology in Nigeria. We believe that the future of financial technology in Nigeria has moved on to open banking, and this started in 2001. So basically, open banking is a system that allows non-financial institutions to offer financial products and services. It's a concept that financial and non-financial companies should be able to easily share information about their customers with the customer's permission to make more useful and competitive services for customers. So the open banking, in relation to open banking, central bank recently released regulatory frameworks for open banking. And then that's for open banking in Nigeria. And the documents which the Apex Bank believes will provide an enabling regulatory environment that will eventually trigger the provision of innovative and customer-centric financial services in Nigeria. So some of the agents who are unaffiliated with banks can aggregate several banking products and services from different commercial banks and sometimes microfinancial banks and offer them to customers through their own platform, giving customers a more flexible access to their funds and its management. A challenge from then we also talking about cryptocurrency. With cryptocurrency, Nigeria is yet to establish a framework for cryptocurrency transactions in Nigeria. Though it's not unlawful or illegal, but it's just not regulated. And in future, we're expecting that there'll be an expedited efforts to establish this legal framework for cryptocurrency in the country. So moving on to examples of commercial developments of financial technology in Nigeria. So we have data and statistics from National Bureau of Statistics showing that 87 million transactions worth $5 billion were completed through mobile banking platforms in 2018. According to PwC also, FinTech investments in Nigeria recorded more than 200 million US dollars between 2011 and 2018. These financial technology platforms cut across wealth management, lending, and investment venture capitals. So those central banks has spurred the growth of FinTech ecosystem in Nigeria through InterSwitch, XtraZ, and Remita. The evolution of Nigerian startups has positioned Nigerian FinTech sectors for accelerated growth on the global stage. In November 2019, Visa invested $200 million in InterSwitch, which cemented the company's unicorn status and valued at $1 billion. Also, Kuda is the first neobank in Nigeria, and it raised $10 million seed fund for its operation. Flutterwave also recently raised $170 million from investors, pushing its value to $1 billion. Nigerian startup headquarters in San Francisco was launched in 2016 and provides technology infrastructure. American financial services and software companies Stripe, according to Nigerian Paystack, a startup out of Lagos for over $200 million in 2020. FirmMoney is a mobile banking platform for private and business borrowers. It's an application that uses smartphone data to build an instant credit score and give loans. There are over 250 licensed fintech companies in Nigeria, in the Nigerian fintech sector, and due to the growth experienced in this sector over the past decade, fintechs are also branching out from payments into lending, micro-investments, wealth management, peer-to-peer transfers, and insurance. So that brings me to the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Ibukun Olua. I'll be calling on Group 2 also to take their presentation quickly before we move on to the question and answer session.
Okay,
Group 2.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, but your voice is not loud. It's not audible enough.
Okay. I'll share my screen now.
We can see your screen.
Okay.
All right, presenter for group 2, and my name is Itoro Michael. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Not clearly.
You can hear you. Kindly go on with your presentation.
All right, so open banking.
Please, Itoro Michael, you are far from your speaker, so your mic, so we can't hear you clearly.
Started
Loudly.
the first of what? Can you hear me now?
Please move close to your microphone so we can hear you loudly.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I said for introduction of open banking in Nigeria,
Yes.
it started on the 1st of June 2017, where a group of bankers and FinTech experts got together for the open banking Nigeria initiative. This was basically done to drive the adoption of a common API standard for the country. And this would enable further innovation in the financial services industry. So having talked about the introduction of open banking in Nigeria, I'll just go straight to what open banking is. So what is open banking? Open banking is basically the practice of enabling a secure operation in the banking industry by allowing third-party payment service providers to access banking transactions and other data from banks and financial institutions. Okay. So open banking works in a way that third-party payment service providers are able to access personal and financial information of their customers' banks. And this is done through APIs, application programming interfaces. And before this can happen, the customers must grant access for the sharing of information, so it's not automatic. And they usually do this via an online consent form following terms and conditions agreements. So that's basically how open banking works. Next slide. So in the course of our research as a group, we came up with, we discovered some examples of open banking, and one of them is the HSBC. So this app was launched in May 2016 and allows customers to view various bank accounts as well as loans, mortgages, and credit cards in one place. So this creates a lot of benefits for the customers. And open banking, what are the benefits of open banking? It allows customers to access multiple accounts from a single application and to monitor their financial status and purchases. That is, open banking provides more choices, it provides better services and frictionless commerce. An example would be Amazon or PayPal. If you need to send money or just securely, with a simple click or swipe. All right, I'm moving to my next slide. Embedded finance. So this is basically the seamless integration of financial services adopted by non-financial companies. That is, these non-financial companies offer financial products and services and an example would be for example, a coffee shop app that offers one-click payment for their services. This is an example of embedded finance. So my next slide. Examples of embedded finance. The first one is embedded payment. And it provides a way of giving the customers options to pay directly from their bank account. They can pay directly from their bank account. An example would be Smart Pay Rewards. It's a mobile app for gas stations and convenience stores. It offers customers discounts and rewards in exchange for using its embedded bank account payment tools. An example of embedded finance would be embedded cards, embedded insurance, and embedded lending. Embedded lending is basically buy now, pay later. And this typically provides monthly or weekly payment installments over a period of time with no interest. An example would be Affirm or Afterpay. These are apps that provide embedded lending services. Next slide. So what are embedded finance benefits? First one is increased convenience, improved revenue, increased customer sign-up retention and loyalty, and also precise analytics. The third one I'm talking about is world of payments. So world of payments is basically a system by which merchants and companies across the world send and receive payments in different currencies. So it's more like a system of cash flow, and it supports financial stability and helps fund financial inclusion. An example would be wire transfer, direct debit, Payona, and the rest of them. So before I conclude, open banking and embedded finance are means of creating better service and frictionless commerce, although there are risks associated with them. We've heard of safety and confidentiality of finances. There are the issues of data breaches, and where payment service providers mishandle their own customers' data, not to gain an advantage in the market. So these are the issues with open banking and embedded finance right now. Despite all of this, we should know that open banking and embedded finance is actually here to stay and can only get better. So yeah, thank you.
And thank you very much, Itoro Michael, the presenter for Group 2, for that wonderful presentation. I will leave it to our mentors to also make some comments on it, and we will move to the question and answer session. I'll be calling on Mr. George to go first. And that. Mr. George, are you on the call with us? Okay, Ms. Esther can go first too. Ms. Esther, can you hear me? Okay. Ma, I think you are muted. Kindly unmute yourself, ma, Ms. Esther. Okay. Ms. Esther said we should give her a minute. So she sent a message on the chat box. So let's just.
Can you hear me now? Then on my network.
We can hear you, sir.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my network is a bit challenged. Yeah. So I mean, very, very apt presentation so far. I must confess, quite a lot of work that was done. The first presentation really did, quite a very good job in giving us, a tour or a history lesson on the evolution of fintech in the country, which was quite interesting. And I must say that they really captured almost every phase of that journey. So congratulations for being able to do that. And then also now coming to relate it to the present day where we are, and capping it off with the open banking, which is now going closer to what the ecosystem is going to increasingly look like. I must say that I was very impressed with what they did. So not so much for pointing out a lot of things there, just to say that it was a good job done. But just so we know that two things I just want to point out is on the part of the open banking. Yeah, there are regulations, for open banking that has been laid out. Not complete regulation. So what has been done is what we call framework, right? Guideline. Basically, giving that goes forward before a full-fledged regulation comes across. So those framework and those guidelines are already laid out towards building a full-fledged regulation for open banking that would compel the banks to allow you to export your data, your financial data, to just about anybody that wants to get your data. Because I saw someone talking about embedded finance second slide. What really make embedded finance thrive is where you have access to those, your financial data when those non-financial entities can have access to it, so that they can make judgments from them. The guy that is going to do buy now and pay later, on what basis is he going to give you that credit? He has to know that, okay, this person has this kind of transaction, and this is the kind of amount of money that this person is supposed to be able to have the capacity to pay back. He's able to have access to all the transactions that you've been doing, so that he can know that, okay, if I give this guy a credit of 100,000, from what I'm seeing from his transaction, he should be able to accommodate it. Not that he will not come and ask me for 1 million. Meanwhile, his transaction that I'm seeing is not more than 100,000. So those data is what enables those other things like embedded finance to thrive. So that's where we are going to. And then for the comment on crypto, yeah, it is not. So part of the part you missed was to really bring out the CBN stance on crypto, which is the fact that while blockchain as a technology is now banned in the country, crypto is actually banned in the financial space. So it's not just that it's not yet regulated, but it is actually banned within the CBN controlled or regulated entities, right? So if you're playing in the financial space that is regulated by CBN, cryptocurrency is actually banned, right? But the interesting bit, which you probably should have also have brought out, is the fact that regulation is on the way, because if you're playing in the investment side, SEC has already brought out, which is the Security Exchange Commission, has already brought out some form of regulation around cryptocurrency for people that want to use it as an investment security, as an investment, as a way of raising funds for your fintech. So how you sell shares, for example, in company. If you're a fintech and you don't have access to the Nigerian Stock Exchange to sell shares, you can do something they call the ICO, the initial coin offering, that you can create your own cryptocurrency or your own token as a company and sell it to people. And when people buy that token, they are like buying shares in your company, and you're using it to raise money. So SEC has brought out regulation for it but that thing has not gone out fully because CBN has not permitted people to be able to deal. So yes, you can do it, but nobody can buy it from you because CBN bans you from using your money in the bank to go and buy it. So the regulation is not complete, but it has started from the set. So that's the only part I probably will just point out, like a little bit big in the details around cryptocurrency. But other than that, very top-notch, well done, the journey of that evolution of FinTech and its commercialization. For the second presentation, a very good job to done, with especially your focus on embedded finance and how you want to commercialize FinTech beyond the traditional way, which is why I love your focus, why you spend some time talking about embedded finance, because now almost anybody can become quote unquote a FinTech, right? By embedding finance into your offering, right? So you can already play in the FinTech space, even if you're not a FinTech, and that is what embedded finance does. And the presentation captured the different ways you can do embedded finance, embedded lending, embedded insurance, all that work. So it was a good presentation on the exposition of going beyond the traditional FinTech that we all know, to let people know how you can also play in that space, even if you're not a FinTech, through embedding finance in your product, in your traditional product. So it's also a good way, to talk about commercialization, or commercial development in the space. Even though it was a bit very focused, it wasn't broad, to cover the entire industry, but it did a very good job bringing out that very critical space that is playing out, right now in the country. Yeah, you didn't do a lot of examples that are local. A lot of the examples were foreign. There are quite a number of examples you could have given locally, but you did a lot of your examples with a foreign product or foreign merchant. So maybe you also want to do, more relate some of your future slides to local examples so that people can relate very easily. But other than that, it was a good work, good job done by both teams.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. George, on your comments and correction on the Group 1 and Group 2's presentation. So I'll call on Ms. Esther Eme to also give us her own comments on the same presentation. Okay, I think she's not with us on the meeting. I can't find her on the list. Maybe she's having a network issue. So I think before we move to the question and answer session, we encourage everybody to put on their video for 30 seconds. I will be taking some screenshots of our session today for our social media posts. Our mentors and mentees are all advised to put on their videos. Thank you very much as you do so. Thank you. And you can just smile, please, for the camera. Yeah, thank you. I can only see our female mentees. We don't have fine boys and girls. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. All right, thank you very much. I've taken some screenshots. Thank you. Quickly, you are all encouraged to ask your live questions while our mentors are on the call, and I'll also be reading out the questions that were sent. Okay, you can just indicate by raising your hand, and I'll call on you to ask any question regarding the topic for today: commercial development of FinTech, embedded finance, and the world of payment. Okay, I can't see any hands yet. Does that mean we all understand everything about the topic for today. Okay. I'll be reading out the question. We have Mr. George here, and I think Mr. Joe is not on the call. We are waiting for him to join the call, and also Miss Esther is not yet on the call. For now, Mr. George will be taking the question. So the first question is, will fintechs replace banks, and what are the challenges of open banking implementation in Nigeria? So did you get the question? I'll be posting the question on the chat box.
Yeah, I got the question. Will fintech replace banks? No. They would not replace banks for two reasons. One is regulation will not allow them to bank to start with. Then the second is fintechs are only possible because of banks. That's the part people don't realize. Behind the fintechs, they need banking infrastructure to power those services they are doing. Yeah, so would they replace banks? No. What they would do is that they will be able to make banks, not sleep on their toes, and they will be able to serve. They might be able to serve the customer, directly a bit better. But you would find out that there's a lot of things that regulation not allow them to do because of the way they are set up. So the part that they can really do a lot is on the retail side. But whether they are going to replace banks, no, they are going to collaborate more in the future. And then, as you're already seeing, banks will also be running their own fintechs, right? To also extend and enjoy some of those flexibilities that fintechs have that they are not able to do as a bank. So now they will not replace bank, but we're going to have a much more faster, nimble banks because of the push that is coming from the fintechs.
Okay. I'll be taking the next question. What are the roles of lawyers in ensuring compliance in the world of open banking and embedded finance?
Come again with that. I didn't get that one.
What are the roles of lawyers in ensuring the compliance in the world of open banking and embedded finance?
Oh, the role is the role in ensuring compliance. Compliance is very key in those two things you just mentioned. Because particularly open banking, which basically is all about how banks open. That's how the word comes about. Open banking, how banks open their infrastructure for fintechs to be able to connect to them, to get access to your transactions. How you are able to give access to fintechs or third parties, and that's where the word open is coming from. So compliance is critical because data privacy is very important. How you manage people's data is very important. So you can also, in the name of open banking, allow customers' data to be susceptible to abuse, by some of these fintechs or even by the bank, right? Some of them will tell you they want to use your data to do A, but when they get your data, they use it to do B, C, and D, right? So compliance is very critical because of data privacy and data security. So yes, it's a very critical part, and you can't talk embedded finance without talking open banking. Because for embedded finance to work, they need access to data to help them make those decisions to give you or to extend you different financial services. And they also need to tap into banking infrastructure to be able to process those financial services. So, and of course, for you to also do that, it's critical that you have to be compliant friendly, so that you also don't use the name of trying to do open banking and embedded finance, facilitate fraud, again, facilitate laundering, or illicit transactions of some sort. So compliance is at the heart of those activities because of how people can use customer information to carry out unauthorized transactions that are illegal or not even authorized by the customers themselves.
Okay, that's the second question. I'll be asking the next question. I can't see either of our mentors that left the call yet, so you just help us answer the next question. Is open banking totally compliant with data protection requirements?
Is open banking welcome again?
Totally compliant with data protection requirements.
So open banking as a practice, so it's like saying when you write on a book, are you going to write within the line, or are you going to write outside of the lines that are drawn on the book? So open banking on its own is not what is going to comply with the data privacy requirements. It is the guys that are executing open banking that would ensure that compliance happens. So that is where regulation comes into play. So if as a bank, I'm giving you as a fintech access to take my customer data, I must ensure that I put in place things that would ensure that you don't misuse that data and that you are only getting the necessary information that the customer wants me to give you. So it's me as a bank that would ensure that, and then you as a fintech that will also ensure that when you take this customer's information, you are also not using it for what the customer doesn't want you to use it to. The customer have said, okay, here is get access to my transaction information so that I can get a loan from you, or so that I can get a good on credit from you. I didn't say that you should take my information and go and sell it to Facebook so that they'll start sending me adverts, about loan or about maybe whatever it is I was trying to buy. So it is also on the fintech to ensure that they also put those things in place to ensure data protection of the customer's data. So it's not open banking per se that would ensure that. It is the people that are trying to execute open banking, both the bank and the fintech, that are custodians to ensure that on their own parts, they all ensure that data privacy and protection happens.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for answering that. I don't know, before I ask the last question, I'm still giving our mentees the opportunity to ask any question regarding the topic. So you can just do that by raising your hand, and I'll call on you to ask the question. Okay, I'll be taking the last question now for today. What are the remedies or reliefs available to a customer in case of fraud when using the open banking option? So did you get that?
Yeah, I didn't get. I missed that.
Okay. It says what are the remedies? What are the remedies or reliefs available to a customer in case of a fraud when using open banking, like in case where they are being frauded?
So it depends on where the fraud is coming from. I mean, you can get frauded from countless of ways. So you can only be specific about the remedy. Depends on where the fraud is coming from. Is the fraud coming from the point where maybe someone stole your information from the fintech? Is the fraud coming from the fact that the wrong that you did not authorize the fintech to get access to your data, and then they used your data to access your account without authorization? So remedy would be a function of where is that fraud coming from, what kind of fraud it is, and where is it coming from will determine the remedy, right? So there are different kind of frauds that can occur, and then there are different ways to go about remediating, that fraud. So it does depend on where the fraud occurs. Is it from the side of the bank? Is it from the side of the fintech? Is it from the side of you, the customer? Is it from the side of the merchant where that is giving you that embedded finance service, right? Where is that fraud happening from? So once we get specifics around the fraud, then things like get your a chargeback or reversal of your fund that was lost by the various stakeholders. You can escalate to consumer protection, on the issue. Then of course, report to crime agencies to investigate the crime. So it just depends on exactly where the fraud is coming from, and then that will depend on what we need to do to remediate it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I think, okay, what if it's coming from the side of, let's say, another user, for example? I think I know of a case, a POS agent that was being defrauded recently. I think the guy that came to withdraw from her has been withdrawing, and like he's a customer and something like that. When he sent to a particular account, when she sent to a particular account, money to a particular account, then the next thing they started trying to withdraw money from her own account. Something like that.
So how did they get access to her info?
I think the person has been watching her, like, when you come to withdraw, the person knows her PIN and stuff like that. And the next thing they were trying to they remove the money from their own end, like that.
Well, that in that part, right? I mean, it's what they call personal responsibility, right? That is why you're always advised. You also have a role to play in ensuring, that you're also secured in carrying out financial transactions. If anybody, because of how non-cautious you are, gets access to your PIN, maybe watching you use your PIN or your password anywhere, there's nobody that can be responsible, right, for what will happen. Because why? The system is garbage in, garbage out. Because you use the right password or the right PIN, it assumes that you're the one, right? Except when you now have extra features, like maybe you're using biometrics, like some ATMs, for example. Now, banks have started deploying ATMs that use biometrics, and it's only a matter of time it will become even compulsory for you to use your fingerprint before you access an ATM, right? And if they use your app, if they get your details and log into your app, and those biometrics are not there, and then they are able to transfer money from your account, I mean, you have your own personal responsibility as an individual to ensure that you make sure you protect your password, you protect your PIN, and all sensitive information, right, from getting into the wrong hands. While you're looking out for the banks or the fintechs or the financial institution to also protect you by ensuring that people don't get, access to your bank account or access to your, financial information. You also have another responsibility to also do the same.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
I think we still asking for questions from our mentees. If you have any question, you can ask. With this, we've come to the end of the program for today. Thank you very much, Mr. George Onyewuchi, for always joining us and mentoring us, giving us tips, giving us life hacks, advices, and throwing more light on the topics every week. Thank you very much. We are so happy to have you here. Thank you very much, especially from JIIPCC, and to all our mentees that stayed to the end of the program. Thank you very much for the good work, the group teamwork. Everything is being appreciated. Your slides, everything looks beautiful. Thank you very much. Keep up with the good work. This week too, and we have 6 more weeks to go, and you'll be certified as a JIIPCC alumni. So with that's the end of the program for today. I say a very big thank you to everybody once more. Have an amazing weekend. Chill and relax. Bye bye.